bottle of fabulous rum-scuttle bubbles and giggles is part of the plan. It's yummy and clubby and jiggles your tummy and soon you's off with a whiz-poppy bang. As certain as eggs and his eggs is a couple of kegs is a rum-scuttle makes you feel grand.
Under the blanket, Harvey waited. After a minute or so, he lifted the corner of the blanket up and peeked out. For the second time that night, his blood froze to ice and he wanted to scream, but no words came out. There at the window, with the curtains pulled aside, was the enormous, long, pale, wrinkly face of the giant person staring in. The flashing black eyes were fixed on Harvey's bed. The next moment, a huge hand with pale fingers came shaking through the window. This followed by an arm as thick as a tree trunk. And the arm, the hand, the fingers were reaching across the room towards Harvey's bed.
Jasmine gripped the edges of the stool and thought, not Slytherin, not Slytherin.
Not Slytherin, eh?
Said a small voice.
Are you sure? You could be great, you know. It's all in your head, and Slytherin will help you get on your way to greatness. No doubt about that. No? Well, if you're sure, better be Gryffindor.
Unimaginable kindness, undeniably.
Arrived at the coffee shop, Amy peered through the steam-dark glass window. I don't think there's anywhere to sit down, she said. Unfortunately, the coffee shop was full to bursting with Christmas shoppers trying to avoid the cruel British weather. But we can try, said Mr. Stink, picking up the Duchess and trying to conceal him under her tweed jacket. The tramp opened up the door for Amy and she squeezed herself inside. As Mr. Stink entered, the pleasing aroma of freshly brewed coffee keeled over and died. His own special smell replaced it. There was silence for a moment, then panic. People started running towards the door, clutching their mouths as makeshift gas masks.
I'm back at Starbucks!
Screamed a member of staff and his colleagues. Immediately, he stopped making copies or bagging muffins and ran for their lives.
Unimaginable kindness, undeniably dear, unexpectedly thoughtful.
The next day, to pay Freya Twit back for the frog trick, Willow Twit sneaked out into the garden and dug up some worms. She chose big, long ones and put them in a tin and carried the tin back to their house under her apron. At 1 o'clock, she cooked spaghetti for lunch, and she mixed the worms in with the spaghetti, but only on her husband's plate. The worms didn't show because everything was covered with tomato sauce and sprinkled with cheese. Hey, my spaghetti's moving, cried Freya Twit, poking around in it with his fork.
As David was speaking, Willow suddenly dropped my tail and moved slowly around me, running her hand along my back. Then at last we stood facing one another. There was a rougher hue to her face, I thought. She had more lines around her eyes, and she was a broader, bigger woman in her uniform than I remembered her. But she was my Willow, and there was no doubt about it. She was my Willow. Joey, she said tentatively, looking into my eyes. Joey? I tossed up my head and called out to her in my happiness, so that the sound echoed around the yard and brought horses and men to the door of their stables.
Jack! Roo, I shouted back. So she knows I'm near, so they know I'm near, and hopefully the girl who has attacked them with the tracker jacker and got an 11 they still can't explain will be enough to pull their attention away from her. Roo, I'm coming. When I break into the clearing, she's on the ground hopelessly, entangled in the net. She just has time to reach her hand through the mesh and say my name before the spear enters her body. The body from District 1 dies before he can pull out the spear. My arrow drives deeply into the centre of his neck. He falls to his knees and halves the brief remaining of his life by yanking out the arrow and drowning in his own blood.
We'll begin with a spin traveling in the world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation.